It's gonna be a good one.
It's gonna be a good one.
Definitely a different type of process.
Cut down or freeze up.
Being a coach's son.
Jackson, of course, they keep retooling. One stone to face, a hit by pitch. Oh my goodness. Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast, powered by Game 7 Baseball, game7baseball.com. Not this weekend, but next weekend, we're going to be at the WAC. 28 14U teams. We're excited about this. We're going to be seeing guys from Illinois.
Nice.
Guys from Missouri. We got an open contest. We got AA. We got AAA. We got major. It don't matter. Let's come play baseball. Let's see who can compete. That's what I love about this. And we're going to be out there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We'll be live streaming the top bracket championship. So make sure when you're watching, come out and see us. We're going to be doing interviews. We're going to get to know these kids and what high schools they're heading to. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you check out Game 7 Baseball. If you got a tournament that you want to fill up, maybe this late in the season, you never know. Game7baseball.com. Today on Illinois Baseball Talk, I'm joined by the man, Diego Solares.
What's going on? Happy to be back.
Absolutely. It's been a minute.
It's been a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
It's partially my fault, mostly my fault.
No, it's not fault. It's called doing your job, right?
I guess. Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
You know, it's you've been around to some baseball in Illinois.
Good amount. High school ball, junior college ball. I went up to my home area of the Fox Valley up in the northwest burbs of Chicago to catch Midwest District NJCAA Division I action, which was awesome. Super cool. Shout out to Lakeland over in Mattoon, Illinois. They punched their ticket to the Junior College World Series. First time, I think, since like 1980 something.
Oh, wow.
And actually they had to, so the way that it works is you play on the first day, and the winners go to the winners bracket, and the losers go to the losers bracket, and it's double elimination. So back-to-back weeks, they lost the first game, or they found themselves in the losers bracket back-to-back weeks, and had to win 2 games against the top seed, because the top seed obviously has to lose twice, and they did it both times.
Wow.
With very limited pitching, playing all those games. So shout out to Julio Godinez and those guys, man. They're having a great run. Hopefully they can go to Colorado and bring it back.
That's grit.
It's awesome. Shout out to Heartland too, Division II junior college in Bloomington. Chris Razzo and that group, they've kind of turned themselves into a national powerhouse. 2 years ago they won the national championship, and they're back in Enid, Oklahoma, which is where they do the Division II JUCO World Series. So.
They're recruiting well. I see a lot of names of kids.
Jake Greer's going there. Con Lovelady's going there.
Mm-hmm.
Sylvester Tournier from DeSmet's going there. They crush it. I mean, it's right in Bloomington. It's right down the road from Illinois State. So you got something to do there. They play at the Corn Crib, which is where the normal
I like the Corn Crib.
The normal Corn Belters play.
Yeah.
So it's a professional stadium, professional seating with a professional atmosphere. The junior college scene in Illinois is very, very strong. Even this year, like, you know, the most predominant conference is the GRAC, the Great Rivers Athletic Conference, where all the Division I schools play in, except for McHenry. I think if you asked around the league, people will tell you the GRAC was a little down this year. And even then, we still have a team in Grand Junction, Colorado, representing the state. So I like the junior college stuff. I know, like, this is a high school show, whatever, but the way the college landscape is going, the recruiting, the roster limits, the people in the portal, like all that stuff is having a direct trickle-down effect on the JUCO scene.
Absolutely.
So you're seeing the junior college scene elevating itself, even in Missouri, obviously, Jeffco, Crowder, Mineral area.
Moberly area.
Yeah.
Even the Kansas City.
North Central, KCK.
Right.
It's that stuff's awesome to me. It's so fun. It's college baseball. It's a different game.
I think it's back a little bit to what it used to be in that respect. And I like it. And speaking of the corn crib, I did. My son pitched there one year in college. I forget who we were playing. Of course, we had travel.
Sure.
Trying to remember who we played, but I can't. I just remember it was cold and
cold and windy always.
Yes.
Yep.
And he did get the win, so
Nice.
it was fun. We drove up there, my wife and I, to watch him play, and that's a cool park, man.
Yeah, it's nice. It's like kind of in the middle of kind of nothing, but not really. They've actually added a lot in the last couple of years around that area, but every time I've been there, it's been really cold. It's been super windy. So that sounds like most of Illinois in March, April, and May.
Absolutely. Jeez. Yep, that's the way it works. All right. Let's get to it. We've got playoff baseball in Illinois. Playoffs are, in both states. I think this is whatever. The thing that I remarked to Drew and my staff is just like, my gosh, is it playoff? Where the high school seasons in playoffs? It's crazy how quickly this went.
It's crazy how fast. I was thinking about that the other day. Like we're already here. Like it's already playoff time. It's exciting, right? Because the vibe is awesome, but also it's like kind of not exciting because the season's coming to an end.
I know.
But it's been a good year. Like seen a lot of good baseball, and it flies. Like it really from the start, from the middle of March to now, it felt like kind of a blink of an eye. So
I feel the same way. It's just like crazy. So I got to get back to Class 1 here. Class 1A.
1A.
Baseball in Illinois. You've been rolling your top 10. So talk to us about what's going on here with 1A.
Yeah, so
it's Father McGivney. Going to win it all, right?
Yeah, the 1A, 2A playoffs in Illinois coincide with the Missouri schedule. So they start the 3A, 4A, which we'll talk about later, starts a week after it. So we're already rolling here. It's Father McGivney until somebody figures it out. Now, I will say they did lose. They lost to a Fallon, so they lost to a 4A school a couple weeks ago. I didn't update the rankings this week because, to be honest with you, I sat down to update them, and I went through my whole process, and I would not have changed one thing.
I understand that.
It would have been the same top 10 in the same exact order. I mean, some teams lost, some teams won, some teams picked up good wins, some teams picked up wins that weren't against the best teams. No one deserved to drop out. So our top 10 is the same from the last update, and I mean the playoffs are rolling on, so it doesn't really make sense to do it next week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Father McGivney. Now there are some competitors, kind of not outside of the area that I kind of spend most of my time paying attention to. There is a school up in Ottawa, which is a little bit north of Central Illinois, called Ottawa Marquette, that has turned itself into a powerhouse 1A program the last decade or so. They won the state title last year. They basically brought their whole team back. They have an arm in Alec Novotny that is a mid to upper 80s junior that can really, really spin a breaking ball. He also plays shortstop for them. That guy can beat anybody. I don't think those two teams wouldn't play each other until the state playoffs actually started. But in terms of McGivney getting there, their path to get there, it's them through and through. I would honestly, it would really, really shock me if they didn't win the whole thing this year.
So me, as a novice to the Illinois bracket scene here, I'm scrolling through this. I have no idea where I'm at.
Yeah, I think what would make sense to do is kind of go sectional by sectional on what the kind of areas that we focus on. So the first one would be the Arcola sectional, which is one of the first ones if you scroll down. It's obviously going to be hosted by Arcola. That's why it's called the Arcola sectional.
Yeah.
Some teams to touch on, like Gibson City, Melvin Sibley right there at the top. They won their first game 14-0. They went to state last year. And brought back a fairly good bunch of that group. Mount Pulaski, who's the 2 seed in their subsectional, had a great year. They had some really good wins. It's a 1A school just outside Decatur. Chance Payne, senior, going to Lakeland, kind of leads that group. Left-handed pitcher, first baseman. If you scroll down to the bottom side of the bracket, the host, Arcola, they're one of the few 1A teams inside of our top 10. They haven't lost this year yet. They're 21-0. And to be honest with you, they've only really played 1 or 2 close games and close like 1, 2, 3-run games. Other than that, they've kind of beat the brakes off everybody they've played. They have a kid going to Louisville in Tanner Thomas. Leads that bunch. I'm fairly confident he's going to Louisville as an arm. Upper 80s, low 90s arm. But he's also, obviously, he's hitting like 700 on the year or something ridiculous like that.
Jeez.
They also have a sophomore, Brody Phillips, who is the head coach's son, that plays up the middle for them and is a nice little ball player to know. Catcher, Jackson Griffith, physical right-handed hitter. It's a really good team. It's a small school. It's a public school, kind of in the middle of that Effingham area.
Oh, okay.
They're pretty loaded. And then Armstrong, who is the 3rd seed in their subsectional. I'll be honest with you, I don't know much about Armstrong, but the one thing I do know is they have an arm named Traxton Roberts, who's a sophomore that's mid to upper 80s, and he's got power stuff. I saw him last summer. That's a guy that can beat anybody on any given day if he's on. So
they're playing today at 4:30.
correct.
So the high seed gets the home
Yes.
field?
It'll depend. There will be the host sites are determined.
Okay.
So this one just happens to be at Armstrong, which means the
Okay.
game that was played yesterday between Salt Fork and Fisher was also at Armstrong.
Gotcha.
Sometimes they'll just send these teams to a field that has turf, a field that has lights, a field that maybe is a natural surface, but it's a nicer natural surface than the higher seeds home field. So it really depends. Like you can see, Arcola is playing at Millikan University. That's because Millikan is turf and it has lights.
Gotcha.
So in case it rains,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we do have rain in the forecast.
Correct.
So yeah, that makes sense.
Correct. So if we kind of move on here, the next one would be the Altamont sectional. A little surprising here, like early on, the 2 big teams I was looking at, Stewartson Strasburg is the number 1 seed. They won yesterday 11-0. They're kind of in that Teutopolis, Effingham area. To be honest, don't really know a whole lot about them. I know they had a great year. I believe they went into the playoffs like 17-6, so deserving of that 1 seed. The shocking one to me, honestly, was Altamont losing 4-2 to Casey Westfield.
Yeah.
Because Altamont, and this is kind of like where the strategy goes into it. Altamont has a really, really good arm in Cade Millville, who had a unbelievable season. He almost struck out 100 guys and walked like 4 or 5 of them.
Jeez.
And he didn't throw yesterday. They threw off to kind of save him for the regional title game. He did come in relief, but I don't think
It's too late.
I don't think that was their plan because they started somebody, then they threw another arm, and then he came in and threw. He was the 3rd guy to throw for them. So that tells me that wasn't in the cards and it just happened by circumstance. So they're out. They went to state last year. They were the state runner-ups, and they're out in the first round this year. And if you see right above that, Edwards County, the 2 seed, lost to Diederich. So we've got a 6 seed and a 5 seed playing for a regional championship there. That's postseason baseball.
I love that. And
Postseason baseball.
I know it's tough. You get the one game and out and whatnot, but as we talk about this, and you're a pitching guy. When I start looking through, when we get to the playoffs, I start looking at top 20. I look at teams that have good records.
Sure.
I start looking at the depth of their pitching.
Who are the
right?
arms? Who are the arms? Like that's what it takes. Like Illinois is a little different because, like Missouri, you play Wednesday in districts, right? You play Wednesday, you play Thursday, and you play Saturday if you make it to the district title.
Yeah, it's some form of that,
right?
right?
And some of them is Monday, so then the Wednesday guy can throw Monday. But for
the most part, it's correct.
In Illinois, you play the regional semi game on Wednesday, then the championship game's on Saturday.
Ooh.
Okay, and then if you were to win the regional, the sectional semifinal, which is the next round, would be on Wednesday. So your Wednesday guy, you only have to win 1 game in between your Wednesday guy going. So if you've got 2 arms,
you can get there.
It can take you basically all the way to the super sectional, which would be the round after sectionals. The only difference there is the sectional is the same thing. It's the semi on Wednesday, the final on Saturday. Then there's one more round, which is the super sectional, before going to state. They play those games on Monday.
Wow.
So that's when you need a 3rd arm.
Gotcha.
Right?
Gotcha.
But if you've got 2 guys, you can go Wednesday, Saturday. It kind of eliminates, not that it eliminates the need for depth, because if one of those...
You got to have a bullpen guy. Yeah.
Correct. But realistically, like my senior year, we got 2nd in state. We used 3 guys the whole playoff run.
That's what I mean, dude. Yeah.
Like only 3 guys threw innings the whole time. You can't do that in Missouri.
No.
For the most part.
Not especially now.
Yeah. Yeah, with the best 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we kind of stay here, the back half of this bracket, it's already completed. All 4 of those teams have played. All 4 top seeds won. The team to look at here would be North Clay. They won the state title in 2022. It's a 1A school, obviously, from Effingham. They spent a couple weeks inside of our top 10. They have an arm named Jack Compton, who's been getting it done for them all year. That's a frontline guy. Farina South Central won't be easy for them. The game is at Farina South Central because they're hosting, which is there's some advantage to that, even though
Agreed.
I'm sure there'll be a ton of North Clay fans there and whatnot. But it's your home field. You're familiar with it. There's a sense of comfort there. But they made a run to state in 2021, actually. It's a very predominant football school. Like they're a football powerhouse. So I'm sure a lot of those athletes play baseball too, which is just kind of how it works at the small school level. So whoever comes out of that, whoever wins that game between Louisville and Farina South Central, I would expect them to beat the winner of Neoga and Pawnee in the sectional semi and kind of punch their ticket to the sectional championship, which would be on May 31st at Altamont.
There's a lot of all 4 of these games. They weren't close.
No, and that's kind of indicative of, to be honest, like how that's set up. I don't know a whole lot about Neoga and Pawnee. Pawnee has had some players come out of there. Mm-hmm. Those are just really, really small town schools.
I have one experience with Neoga.
I've driven through it. That's all I know.
Okay,
I've
cool.
driven through it. That's all I know.
We had a Neoga Chiefs 14U baseball team come play at Game 7.
Nice.
Got to know those kids a little bit.
Nice.
Solid team. I think they finished second or they won it. I can't remember. The 14U championship. Drove all the way over.
That's awesome.
That's my only experience with Neoga, man.
That's awesome. The next one would be the one below it, which is the Cobden sectional. I would say 3 teams to look at here that I kind of look at as potential that can get out of here. Mm-hmm. Waltonville, which is the top seed on their side of the
What is
sectional. Co-op.
So it's 2 different schools.
It's Waltonville and Cesar-Valere.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So there are some schools that they have to come together because they won't have enough players.
Gotcha.
So Waltonville, the Spartans, they have a kid going to Cincinnati named Brandon Menser on the mound, who is one of the best arms in the state, as you can imagine. A power 4 commit playing in 1A. He's probably going to dominate. He has dominated basically every time he's pitched. I would expect him to throw on Saturday and them to win the regional championship. Hardin County is kind of all of these schools are in the Carbondale, Carterville area, so like the true southern part of Illinois.
Yeah.
Hardin County is going to be a tough out, but the one I'm looking at especially is Goreville, the Black Cats, which is a sweet mascot.
I like that.
They're inside of our top 10. They're 22-7 this year, now 23-7 after winning their first round. They went to state 2 years ago and have kind of built a reputation of a powerhouse 1A program coming out of Southern Illinois. They're good every year. They never have like a star player. Mm-hmm. It's just a bunch of really solid, fundamental. They're not going to make mistakes. They're going to bunt. They'll slash. They'll run. The pitchers will all be upper 70s, low 80s guys that can throw 3 pitches for strikes. They locate. It's a very like old school throwback. We're not going to mess up and we're going to put pressure on you type of program. They've been that way for a really long time. Them meeting up with Cesar-Valere and Brandon Menser in the sectional championship game for a chance to go to the super sectional, if it plays out that way, would be pretty electric. And I do think that is how it will pan out.
So what's the name of this team again?
It would be Goreville.
Goreville. And so they're playing Gallatin.
Yeah, which I just
Junction.
don't know a whole lot about Gallatin.
Right. So you're looking ahead to a Steelville matchup?
I would think Steelville will take that over the winner of Galatia and North City. I'm just going to bank on Goreville making it to the sectional championship. Same thing with Waltonville. I've seen both of those teams.
Yeah.
Waltonville has another arm that can, kind of win them a game to save Menser. Goreville, they're just the best team down there.
Gotcha.
They're 23-7. They have wins. They don't just play 1A schools. Most of the Southern Illinois, like Carbondale, Carterville, like kind of on that border of Kentucky, most of the schools down there are 1A, 2A schools. So for them to challenge themselves, they kind of branch out. Like they played Marion, which is in our top 10 for our large school rankings. It's a 3A school. They beat them. They played Ziegler-Royalton, who was in our top 10 for the small schools. They beat them. They've kind of beat every quote-unquote good team in the area.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be a great matchup between Goreville and Cesar-Valliere, should it happen. The next one would be the Greenville sectional, which is where Father McGivney is located at. As you can see yesterday, they won 15-0.
Bunker Hill.
Yeah, Bunker Hill. It was over. They scored 13 runs in the first inning.
Yeah.
I'll be honest with you, like the one team that catches my eye here, if somebody is going to give Father McGivney some trouble, it would be Christ Our Rock Lutheran, which is right underneath them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they would have to, win their game today, and then they would have to beat Marissa Coulterville, which is a solid 1A program kind of in that Waterloo, Freeburg, Valmeyer area. But Christ Our Rock Lutheran and Father McGivney are in the same conference. And Christ Our Rock played them super tough last year in the sectional semifinal. They almost beat them, actually. And, when you play a conference team that is familiar with you and you're familiar with them, that's never easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Now, don't get me wrong. McGivney's got they are the most talented team. They're probably the second or third most talented team in the area, regardless of class. But if someone's going to give them some fits, I could see it being Christ Our Rock Lutheran. They're kind of located in Centralia by Kaskaskia College, right across the road, actually.
Sure.
And then if you scroll down to the bottom part, here's where things get interesting to me. So the team I'm looking at here is Jabot Catholic. Here's why. Jabot Catholic, they won the state title in 2023. They never, ever, ever go into the playoffs with a good record, ever. Like, and it's intentional. Here's why. Because they're a 1A school in Waterloo. They play 90% of their schedule is 2A, 3A, 4A schools. Like, they don't care. Like, their coach, Andy Scare, does a great job. He'll schedule matchups against Columbia. He'll schedule matchups against Waterloo, against Freeburg, against basically anybody that's not 1A. And he does it intentionally to get them ready so that when they get into these playoffs, they're more than ready to go. They won the state title last 2 years ago, and I'm pretty sure they went into the playoffs with a below 500 record, and then they just rolled their way to a state title. Like everybody on their way there, it was not even close. I'm pretty sure they ruled a win in the state title game too. So they're a 4 seed. They have like 8 or 9 wins on the year. I'm just guessing, but it's not something crazy. Keep an eye on those guys because they will be tough.
Reminds me of St. Elizabeth over in Missouri.
Sure. 1A, Class 1 school. Yep.
And they play
Francis Howell this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were in the Rockbridge tournament.
Yeah.
And who cares?
Yeah. And to be honest, like that's kind of what it is. Like you're basically just going into it saying, I don't care what our record is in the regular season. I don't care what seeding we get because the only season that matters is
post
May 21st and up.
So I love that.
That's kind of all we got in 1A that we at Scout Connect pay attention to. I'm excited to talk about 2A because I think that this year in our area, 2A is very strong. We'll start with the Decatur sectional, which is the third one down here if you're looking at it. I'll be honest, like this. So these teams that we're going to talk about here, they don't fall into our quote unquote coverage map for rankings purposes, but I have seen some of these teams, so I feel comfortable talking about them.
Sure.
Monticello, the 1 seed, the Sages, just saw them a couple weeks ago. We've talked about them on this podcast before as a program that's kind of been on the rise the last couple of years. They have a wonderful brand new turf field. The school has invested a ton of resources in their athletic program, and it's been fruitful because they are now back-to-back years where they've had a ton of success. They're playing against Moreau Forsyth on Saturday for a sectional title, who bounced them out of the playoffs last year. So that'll be a good one. The reason I like Monticello is because they have Ike Young, who's going to Illinois, who's one of the more talented senior arms in the state, low 90s, super good athlete, was an all-state football quarterback, led their football team to state. He's a basketball player too. Ton of upside, big physical kid. He's been getting some draft buzz the whole spring. I actually would kind of be, at this point be surprised if he was not a draft pick come the MLB draft. So that's a good arm there to run for them.
And a revenge game.
Exactly. You got to exercise some demons a little bit there. And
Mhm.
Maroa Forsyth, like they're a 5 seed this year, but they have made it. They made it to the 2A state championship game last year. They lost to St. Anthony, and it's a program that has consistently the last couple of years been in that mix. So, excuse me. So that'll be a game I'm watching there. On the backside of that bracket, you've got St. Joseph Ogden, who is another program with a ton of history behind it. It's in Champaign. Yeah. They are rolling this year. They're a 2A school. I believe they have 3 or 4 losses. And it's that is another team, a prime example. They play 3A, they play 4A, they play all the tough teams in the area. I would expect them to firmly at least win their regional and probably win their sectional, but it won't be easy because Normal University, and Tremont are 2 teams to watch from the central part of the state. Normal U High always has good players. They've had a ton of good players come through there. It's a private school, obviously, one of the better private schools in the state. They're talented from top to bottom. And Tremont is in kind of the Galesburg area of central Illinois. Mm-hmm. Man, their pitching staff is really good. They got a kid by the name of Chase Rhodes, who's an uncommitted junior, upper 80s, low 90s, big physical kid. The arm really, really works. Andrew Dawson, who's another physical, uncommitted junior, upper 80s, low 90s. They've got Blaine Williams, who's a physical catcher that can really throw the ball. Brady Booth going to North Central College, a Division III powerhouse. So a 3 seed, but a really good 3 seed and a team to watch. The sectionals for this matchup, whoever it is, I'm going to assume St. Joseph Ogden wins their regional, and then the winner of Normal U High and Tremont will be must-see.
And these are big scores here. 15-5 Normal put up on that Olympia High School.
Yep, and then St. Joseph Ogden beat Arthur 13-2.
Yeah, so it's
not
close.
Necessarily close. Yeah. So I'm pumped about that one. If you scroll down the Pleasant Plains sectional, this is one I'm very familiar with. I've seen a lot of these teams. Pleasant Plains is the 1 seed, and very deservedly so. Mm-hmm. They are, again, very similar to how we talked about Goreville. I wouldn't say Pleasant Plains has a star player. Now, Grady Grisham, who is their shortstop, hits out of the 2-hole, multi-sport standout for them, is pretty close to one. Mm-hmm. But top to bottom, they are just a very fundamentally sound, athletic baseball team. Pleasant Plains, I was just up there last week watching them play Father McGivney. They played them fairly tough. Some things didn't go their way. They lost 9-5. But their whole roster, and we've touched on this before, their whole roster is multi-sport kids. All the kids there play football. They all play basketball. They all play baseball. It's kind of just like a rotating circle of athletes. Yeah. And a lot of that group from last year's team that won 29 games was back for this year. Believe they finished the regular season 29-6. They go in as the top seed. They beat Athens yesterday. They'll face off against Pittsfield.
Now, the kids that I was talking to from Illinois this past weekend called it Athens.
Maybe it is Athens.
I'm just saying.
No idea. I would say it as Athens.
I would say Athens, too. I'm like, they said Athens. I'm like, isn't that Athens?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
they said, that's what I... Right, remember that, Drew? That's weird, huh?
Well, we'll go with Athens.
Let's do that.
They beat them. Pittsfield,
they lost anyway.
Yeah. Pittsfield rallied their way to a win over Williamsville yesterday. Pittsfield is not going to be a tough out or an easy out for Pleasant Plains. So that should be a good game. I would expect Pleasant Plains to win. Litchfield, who I just saw 2 days ago on 3 days ago on Monday. Yeah. They went to a super sectional last year and brought a good chunk of that team back. They're young. Mm-hmm. A lot of their core contributors are juniors. But they got 3 guys, Matthew Bywater, Ethan Sadoff, Max Luch, getting it done for them. Them and Pleasant Plains, should they both win, playing in the sectional semifinal on next Wednesday, that's where I'll be. If they play that game. Okay. And then the back half of this bracket here, super interesting. So North Mac was the 1 seed. They won their game yesterday in extra innings on a walk-off inside the park home run. Oh, wow. To push themselves to the regional championship game against the winner of Shelbyville and Hillsborough. Hillsborough beat Gillespie. Hillsborough did not have a very good year. They do have one really, really good arm in Nathan Matouche going to Dartmouth. I would assume he pitched in that first game. against Gillespie, given the fact that they won 2-0. So they don't have much going on for them after that. So North Mac versus Shelbyville will be a good one. Here's the matchup that I'm probably going to head to on Saturday. You've got Sacred Heart Griffin and Quincy Notre Dame. Sacred Heart Griffin spent the entire season inside of our top 10. At one point, they got up to number 2. They kind of took some lumps, as every team does, right? Like towards the back half of the year, they were scuffling a little bit. They lost like 4 games in a row, but talented team. They've got Andy Antonacci on the mound going to Heartland. Power arm, can run the fastball up into the low 90s. They've got Carson Butler at shortstop. They've got Ty Springer in center field. Will Pennell on the mound getting it done for them. Austin Rudder, who's one of the better sophomores in the area. So they're going to match up against Quincy Notre Dame, who went to state in 2023 for 2A. They had a little bit of a down year last year. Graduated a ton of guys. It's a private school in Quincy.
Yep. Been there. Nice park.
Yeah. What they have going for them is they beat Porta yesterday without throwing their best guy. And their best guy is Abram Weewell, who is he is a monster of a human being. Huge, big, physical kid. A low 90s fastball. He's got 10 home runs this year.
Oh my goodness!
Like he's basically dominated everybody he's pitched against all year. Like it's some pretty ridiculous numbers. So that's
the premier matchup.
That will be Antonacci versus Weewell. That's the place to be on Saturday. Now Quincy's not the closest drive.
No, but it's worth it, right?
It's the place to be on Saturday because that will be an awesome game.
Yeah.
So if we keep scrolling down here, I believe the next one would be DuQuoin, which is where things get interesting. So when we talk about DuQuoin, all these schools are located in southern Illinois, kind of by Carbondale. Nashville, the 1 seed, which was a team that spent the entire year inside of our top 10.
Top 10, right?
They barely beat the 10 seed Benton, as you can see, 3-2 ball game. The kicker here is that Nashville, kind of like Altamont, they started the game throwing off. They did not throw their best guy, who's Lucas Dunn, who's been phenomenal all year. They were losing this game 2-1, basically the whole game, until the bottom of the 6th inning. So he had to throw yesterday. He threw 4 innings, punched out 8, dominated, as you might expect an ace to do. But now they won't have him for Saturday's game. And waiting for them on Saturday will be the winner of DuQuoin and Carterville, 2 teams that did spend multiple weeks inside the top 10 of our rankings. DuQuoin went 32-4 last year and brought their whole team back. Did not have.
How are they the 4 seed?
So didn't have the best year win-loss wise. Okay. Here's why though. It's not because the team got worse, in my opinion. I looked at their schedule. They played a tough schedule.
There you
go.
They
definitely challenged themselves. They played Nashville really tough earlier in the year. And they have 2 arms in Cy Kraft, who's a sophomore, and Dedrick Smith, who's a senior, going to Rend Lake. 2 really good arms. Cy Kraft is one of the best sophomores in the state of Illinois, and Dedrick Smith is a high pitchability guy that can really punch dudes out. One of them will throw against Carterville on Thursday. The other one will throw on Saturday against Nashville. So if DuQuoin was to make it out of this regional, wouldn't shock me at all.
Right.
Even as the 4 seed. That being said, though, Carterville has a power arm in Parker Poole, who's going to John A. Logan Junior College. He's upper 80s, low 90s, and really physical. They're a good team. They have an identity. They play with energy. They're all athletes. They're young. Like a lot of their key players are juniors, sophomores, and even freshmen. To be honest with you, if they were to win this game, I wouldn't be surprised if a freshman started for them in the championship game, Hayden Lang, who's one of the more talented freshman arm that we know of so far in the state, which would be really interesting and as a freshman pitching in a regional championship game. Johnston City was a team that almost made it to our inside of our rankings. They're 20-7 on the year, 21-7 now. They beat Mount Carmel yesterday. I don't know if Logan Moore threw for them, but if he did not, that's their best guy.
Right.
And they would have him there for the regional championship game on Saturday, which they will play against Harrisburg, who is a team that there is a ton of history behind that program. Jay Thompson, their head coach, I believe he's second all-time in wins in the state. He's been there forever, but they've also had a ton of success. They're very young, and a majority of their key pieces, their shortstop, their second baseman, their center field, are young guys. So We'll see what happens
Experience,
there.
though.
Experience for sure.
I love that.
They won a playoff
Yeah.
game already. They could win a regional title game. Here's an interesting one, too. Massac County Metropolis was the 1 seed, and they lost to the 10 seed, West Frankfort, 8-6. Kind of a shocker there. I'm not going to lie to you. I was kind of in on this Massac County team. Now, looking at their roster, they are fairly young, too. I have not seen them, but statistically, most of their best players were sophomores, which can get tough in postseason play, right?
Yeah.
That sets up nicely for if Ziegler Royalton, who's on the very bottom, they spent a good chunk of the season inside of our rankings. If they win their regional, my guess is they'll play Vienna now that Massac County is out, because I think Vienna is going to win that regional. And if those two teams match up in a sectional semifinal, I would give the edge to Ziegler Royalton, which is a program with head coach Paige Kirkpatrick that's kind of been up on the rise the last couple of years. So a lot of interesting stuff happening in Southern Illinois. I believe the last one here would be this Teutopolis sectional. Yeah. Man, another one that's really interesting. So Greenville, the 1 seed, the Comets, they are 26-4 on the year, had a phenomenal season. To be honest with you, kind of came out of nowhere because last year they finished below 500. So, I mean, deservedly so. They're the 1 seed. They won their first game. They'll probably, my guess would be, they will play against Breese Central, who spent basically the whole season inside of our rankings. They're a 4 seed. Kind of have a problem with that. I'm not going to lie. It's kind of weird to me because I think they were 19-10 on the year. And if you look at their schedule, they play in the toughest 2A conference in the whole state, which is down here in the Metro East.
Where do you think they should have been?
So we'll touch on this in a little bit. I would not have given Greenville the 1 seed. I would have given the 1 seed to Teutopolis, who is the 2 seed underneath there. I understand Greenville has a better record, but look at Teutopolis. First of all, Teutopolis was like 24-4, so it's not like it was that much, different. And who they've beat and who they've played, it's not even
strength
close.
of schedule.
It's not even close. Like Teutopolis beat Edwardsville.
I get that, man.
And they beat Glenwood.
There's been some.
It's interesting to me. Yeah. Interesting. So I probably would have given Breese Central the 3 seed in that.
Okay.
Which is, I mean,
over Newton.
And this is a tough bracket right here. But Breese Central will not be an easy out for Greenville. And by the way, the game will be at Breese Central.
Yeah, I see that.
And here's the thing about that. That is like a real home field advantage. The people of Breese, they love their Cougars. Their football games are unbelievable. They when they play football games, obviously.
Are they tailgating?
They're tailgating, but it's not a tailgate. It's like it's special. It's like an SEC atmosphere.
Oh wow!
Like it's packed. They're parking like all the extra parking on the grass is full. Everyone gets there like 4 hours before the game to get after it. Like that's a real home field advantage to host the game at their place. Give me the Cougars. Like I'm calling the upset, 4-1. Ooh. Obviously, they have to beat Carlisle first.
Sure.
But if that happens, I'll take Breese Central. And then on the bottom here, we got T-Town. They won 16-0 against Flora yesterday. Newton beat Robinson 4-3. The game's at Newton. I'm going to ride with T-Town. They're number 2 on our rankings. Like I just talked about, they have some pretty impressive wins this year. They beat Edwardsville at Edwardsville. They beat Glenwood. I'm going to ride with them. Scrolling down here.
This is a brutal.
This is a gauntlet. Like the reigning 2A state champion, Effingham St. Anthony, is rolling right now.
Man.
They just took, speaking of SEC atmospheres, they just took every year Effingham, St. Anthony, and Effingham, which is the public school in that area. They play what's called the City Series. So they play a best of 3. It's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. All the games are at night. This year, that Friday game got canceled because of weather, so they had to play it Saturday morning, so a little less cool of an atmosphere. But it's like a huge deal. They have a plaque, and the plaque has every year.
I love that.
Every year they add to the plaque, and then the team that wins it gets to keep the plaque for the whole season. They just beat Effingham in the City Series. Effingham, by the way, and we'll touch on them here in a second. They're the 1 seed in their sectional. So, to take 2 of 3 from a team that has 20-plus wins and is a 3A school is pretty impressive. They also won the state title last year and brought their whole team back, basically. So, I'm going to pick them to make it all the way back to the sectional championship game. But The tough one will be is they'll have to face off, should they win their regional, they'll have to face off against the winner of Roxana and Columbia. Roxana, they spent 90% of the season inside of our top 10 rankings. I watched them play Althoff Catholic yesterday. They won 10-0. The game was over in 5 innings. They will probably have to play Columbia. Roxana pitched off yesterday, so they'll have their best guy, Mason Crump, who has like a .45 ERA in like 45 innings this year. He'll throw Saturday. My guess is Columbia beats Alton Marquette. Columbia is a 3 seed, but not a 3 seed. Like, they're the 3 seed because I think they're going into these playoffs with a 14-13 record. But again, look at the schedule. They play in a super tough conference. They've played Edwardsville. They've played everybody around the area that is competitive and good. Like, they purposefully challenge themselves. They went up to play Pleasant Plains. That will be an awesome game. It'll probably be Mason Crump against Sam Donald, who's a 6'8", like 190-pound power forward going to Bellarmine to play basketball.
Oh, wow.
But is also mid-80s on the mound and can really spin a breaking ball. So, and that game will be at Roxana, which, again, similarly to Breeze Central, is an advantage. They love their shells in Roxana. I was there yesterday. It was packed. Like, they have kind of like that stadium seating, and it was packed there. People had lawn chairs that were like going all the way back to the parking lot where they were sitting in. That'll be an awesome vibe. So, but talk about a gauntlet like Roxana, Columbia, St. Anthony, Teutopolis, Greenville, Breeze Central, Newton, like all teams that were either in our rankings at one point or firmly in the mix to be in our rankings at one point. I had Columbia like the number 4 team in the state at one point, and they're the 3 seed. So I'm pumped for these 2A brackets, man. There's going to be a lot of good stuff.
To me, this just looks like this could be the state champion.
That's what it was last year. St. Anthony won the state title last year. They kind of had to navigate their way through to get there. But like, if you get out of this,
my God,
what else is going to be tough?
There's no
what's going to be.
You
tough?
may have a challenge here or there, but
yeah.
Right. But you're up for that because you just went through that gauntlet.
Yeah, and I think like if you're kind of looking at this, like some advantages would be, we talk about pitching depth. St. Anthony has the best pitching staff of any of these teams. Like, they've got Brock Fearday, they've got Brady Hatton, they've got Aiden Lauritzen, who won the state title game last year for them. Fearday is upper 80s, low 90s. He's going to Swick. Teutopolis has a very deep pitching staff. They've got Austin Borries going to Lindenwood. They've got Gavin Addis, who's a talented junior. They've got Davin Werman, who's left-handed, mid-80s, can really spin a breaking ball.
All right, we're gonna do this. I want to do this.
Let's do it.
All right. So we're looking at, where'd we start? We started at DuQuoin, right?
No, we started at Decatur.
Decatur, the third one.
Yep.
Right. Okay, hang on. Here it is, Decatur. So who's in the sectional championship?
I'll go Monticello and St. Joseph Ogden.
Okay.
I'll even give you a winner. I'll go St. Joseph Ogden wins that game.
Really? Okay. You went boom, sectional.
The next one is Pleasant Plains.
Yeah.
Who's in the sectional championship? Give me Pleasant Plains and give me Sacred Heart Griffin. And I'll take Pleasant Plains.
Take Pleasant Plains. Okay. All right. And
then
then
we'll go to DuQuoin.
Yeah. You're not as sure, huh?
Give me DuQuoin.
Really?
Yeah. I'll take DuQuoin against Ziegler Royalton, and I'll take Ziegler Royalton to win.
Okay.
And
Ziegler Royalton's the 2 seed there, which you were talking about.
Yep.
Especially since the 1
is out. And by the way, they shouldn't have been the 2 seed. I would have given Ziegler Royalton the 1 seed.
Okay.
But it doesn't matter anymore.
And then the biggie, Teutopolis.
I'll take the Wooden Shoes to win their side of it. I'll take the St. Anthony Bulldogs to win their side of it, and then give me T-Town.
And
which, by the way, that is also a rivalry because Teutopolis is right outside of Effingham.
And gosh, I'm met their big time arm. Who is it at Teutopolis?
Austin Borries.
Say another name.
Gavin Addis.
Say another one.
Mick Niebrugge.
Oh wow,
David Werman. They got a lot of arms. Yeah.
We met down in Branson. talking to players, and I got a granddad. You had put this kid up, and I'm trying to remember. It was the wooden shoes, if I'm
It's
not
probably
mistaken.
Gavin Addis. That's the one time I've seen them. That's who pitched. Yeah, that's who pitched. He threw a complete game shutout.
Yeah, and met his grandfather.
Nice.
Yeah, talking.
It's fun
We had
how it works.
enjoyed. It's amazing, really, when you start. And then the younger kids, and so I always love that.
Yeah,
the
you
connecting
have to. It trickles
part,
down.
right?
Yeah.
And you see the kids and how they've gone up, and kudos to those, and that's the thing. And that team was playing well there. That's the growth process up through there.
Oh yeah.
So that's cool, man. I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that part of it. And because they asked me, you heard of that? I said the wooden shoes, and they're like, yeah. I'm like, yes.
That's awesome. All right, you want to do 3A now?
Let's do it, bro.
Okay, so there aren't very many 3A teams that fall inside of our coverage area. We can start with Lincoln, the Lincoln sectional. Again, very similarly to the Decatur one, there are a lot of teams in here that don't fall in our rankings.
Sure,
but
sure.
there are some that do.
Sure.
So Champaign Central, the 1 seed, they had a phenomenal year. Their coach just won his 500th career game. They're always good. They've had a lot of good players.
Congrats, coach.
For sure. They've had a lot of good players come out of there. I would expect them to win their regional. Here's a good one, and actually some teams that do fall inside of our coverage area. We've got Rochester. They were a team that surprised me. Matt Carlson, their head coach, he kind of
I remember you talking about them.
he kind of told me before the year that they didn't have very many expectations. They're very young. They don't have very many seniors. Actually, his son, Eli Carlson, is their shortstop and also like their main bullpen arm. He's going to Spoon River Junior College. He's hit him and Brett Calvert, who have kind of been their better duo on the mound, are their only 2 seniors.
Oh, wow.
Like their catcher, Sam Ferris, is a sophomore. He's having a great year behind the plate. Gibson Warren plays second base for them. He's a sophomore. Jory Myron plays third base for them. He's a junior. His older brother was one of the better hitters to come through here. Went to SIU Carbondale, had a pretty good career. AJ Runkle, who's, for my money, he's got the best stuff on the mound for them. He also plays first base. He's a junior. So they're young. They had a great year. They shared the Central State 8 title with Glenwood. They're the 2 seed. They're going to beat Decatur MacArthur. And to be honest with you, they'll have the advantage because Mount Zion, the 3 seed.
I was going to say, yeah.
Interesting seeding here. I'll give it to Rochester. They had a better record. They had a good year. Mount Zion's very good.
Yeah.
They have several good arms, but Taylorville will not be an easy out. Mm-hmm. And I think they'll have to throw their best guy, Sammy Driscoll, to beat Taylorville, which could be tough because you have to burn your guy.
Sure.
They have other arms. They've got Jackson Byler, who's a senior, going to Blackhawk. They've got Andrew Tay, who's a senior, going to Southeastern Iowa. To be honest, Andrew Tay would be a prime candidate to start this game too. So they've got depth. They've got Connor Fox, who's a junior, or a sophomore, who's mid to upper 80s and can spin a breaking ball. So they've got depth on the mound. But Taylorville won't be a tough out for them. And Rochester Mount Zion will be an awesome game. Scrolling down a little bit, Chatham Glenwood is the 1 seed, deservedly so. Mm-hmm. They will win their first game against Southeast or Lanphier. And probably my guess would be so Jacksonville and Springfield as the 4-6. Springfield is a program that has a lot of history behind it. They've had a lot of good players. Shout out to my guy Seth Impson, came out of there. But they're not having a very good year. And to be honest with you, the roster's a little down. The one thing they do have, though, is they have a frontline arm in Brody Scheffler, and he's really good. All-state quarterback. I've seen him 2 or 3 times this spring, like mid to upper 80s, but it's strikes, and he comes at you. He can spin a breaking ball. Not afraid, athlete. So I would actually pick them to upset as the 6-4. Now, after that, it kind of drops off a little bit. The one thing that Glenwood does have going for them is they have the best pitcher in the state in Cameron Appenzeller, and he's pitching like it. I believe he's given up 1 run this entire season. They also have Dylan Huff, who's a super talented junior. So I really like that Chatham team. Muhammad Seymour, I just saw him on Saturday. Another program like some that we've talked about here that has been on the rise the last few years. To be honest with you, I'd never even heard of them until a couple years ago. They had Blake Wolters, who was a second-round pick by the Royals, signed for like $2.5 million. But kind of since back in 2023, and since that, they've just been kind of pumping out arms. To be honest with you, like they have Miles Woolsey going to Purdue Northwest. They've got Mason Orton going to Northern Illinois. They've got Max Young. They've got Austin Wyke. Like they're a deep team on the mound, and then their lineup is just scrappy.
And that to me shows me that there's somebody there's
somebody in that area
there, and somebody
yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. And their lineup is just a bunch of scrappy, competitive seniors that are going to play Division III ball or junior college ball. They have an identity. They have a great coach in Nick DiFilippo.
Yeah.
So that will be I would expect them to win their regional. I would expect Chatham to win their regional. Them matching up on Wednesday, June 4th for the sectional the sectional semifinal will be a good one. Now I don't think Cameron Appenzeller will pitch that game. I believe he's going to pitch on Saturday in the regional championship. So, I mean, maybe if they're up early, they'll take him out and he'll pitch on Wednesday. Who knows? But we'll see how that works out. Here's the one that I am beyond excited for is this triad sectional. And this is whoever comes out of this they're gonna earn it. Effingham is the 1 seed. I'll be honest with you. I've seen basically every single team in this sectional. There's no reason why Mascoutah should not be the 1 seed. I think that's wrong.
You've talked about that all year.
I think that's wrong, but whatever, it'll all play itself out, right?
Sure.
Effingham, I would expect them to win this here. Like nothing against Mattoon and Salem. Salem is going to be tough. I would expect them to beat Mattoon and give Effingham a run for their money. But I'll give it to the Hearts. They have depth on the mound. The one thing for them, 2 things. One, they're really young. Like their 2 best arms are sophomores, Jude Traub and Carter Brady. They also have a catcher who pitches for them in Max Flack. But their whole team is super young. Their center fielder is a junior. Their catcher is a junior. Their shortstop is Jude Traub, who's a sophomore. Carter Brady hits in the 2-hole for them. He's a sophomore. And this will actually be their last year in 3A. They're going to bump down to 2A after this year because of enrollment. So, I mean, the 1 seed in your last year at 3A with basically a large majority of your team coming back for next year, keep an eye on them for the future.
Yeah.
Here's Mascoutah as the 2 seed. I mean, they'll win their first game against either East St. Louis or Cahokia, which means that they won't throw Austin Musso. He will throw the regional championship game. He is one of the best arms in the area. The guy's beat basically everybody all year. He also has like 9 homers on the season and is getting it done out of the middle of the lineup. To be honest with you, if I had to pick a Scout Connect player of the year today, that's who it would be. Nothing again. I mean, Waterloo and Freeburg will be a tough matchup. They will beat up on each other, though, and probably have to throw everything they have just to win that game. Waterloo can give Mascoutah fits. I've seen them. They played Triad tough. They lost to them 1-0. We ranked them at one point in the year. They played Nashville tough a couple weeks ago when I saw them. Like they're scrappy. They're old. They have an identity. Like their dugout is super lively. And Freeburg is good. Like Freeburg is a team that, they're 3A this year. Traditionally, they're 2A, so they're kind of playing behind the 8 ball. I ranked them at the beginning of the year, and I felt that they deserved it. They have depth on the mound. They have a strong middle of the lineup with Cole Miller and Bo Brayman and some other guys in that mix. So whoever wins that game will give Mascoutah fits, but I'm going to pick the Indians to win every game Austin Musso pitches in. Then the back half of this bracket, you got Triad, against Jerseyville. Nothing against Jerseyville, but that's going to be
they're not going to win.
That's going to be a win for the Knights. Here's where it does get very interesting, though, Brian. So you got Highland and Civic Memorial there at the 4-6.
In Bethalto.
In Bethalto, which is actually a super nice complex.
Is it?
It is. Highland went to state last year, and they lost a good chunk of guys. Jake Otensmeyer, who was their best player, is now actually getting it done for Eastern Illinois, who won the OVC as a freshman. I would expect – so Highland and Triad play in the same conference. And Highland has an arm by the name of Chase Knable, who is he is the picture perfect Kenton Deverman.
Oh, yeah.
He's Kenton Deverman.
Oh, jeez.
And basically dominated all year last year. Now, he has always dominated Triad, always. Like it's his whole career. This past year, I think the Knights finally caught up to him a little bit because they kind of gave it to him when they played. So I would expect Chase Knable to pitch this game against Civic Memorial, get Highland to win, and then when those two teams match up, Highland also has another arm by the name of Braxton Decker, who's going to Eastern Illinois, and he beat Triad a couple of weeks ago, 6 2/3. I think he gave up 2 hits, punched out 11, and
it sets up for him, doesn't it?
And this kid's got a real chance. Like he's a basketball player, very little reps on the mound. He's got his arms go past his kneecaps. He probably weighs 175 pounds. It's a super loose, quick, athletic arm. He'll.
That's Randy Johnson-esque right
there.
there.
The first 2 innings of that game, he'll be 91-92, and then probably settle in the upper 80s with a good slider. I'm gonna go with Triad because I think they're the best team in the area. But that will be a game that will be. It's tough. It's gonna be tough for them.
They could lose.
Braxton Decker they could lose. They just did lose to him like 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Now, senior lineup, you see him a couple more times. Like that'll probably be their 5th, 6th, 7th at bats against him this year.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a good arm.
Yeah.
And then
gotcha.
The back half of this bracket, I mean, nothing against any of these other schools. Marion's gonna win it. And they will go on to play the winner of either Triad or Highland, in my opinion, in the sectional semifinal. So I think that concludes 3A.
Because that's, for me, it's the same thought process we saw Francis Howell get Zumwalt North and have to face
Camden Loman. Now Braxton Decker's not Camden Loman, but he's really good. So,
but it's that similar thought process in my mind when you're talking about that. That's, you end up in a seeding situation where it's like, my gosh, we can lose this game.
Oh yeah. So if we move on to 4A here, there's really only one sectional that we kind of spend our time looking at, and that's the Bloomington one, because that is where all the 4A schools in the area, there's not that many of them, that they all play in. Now, traditionally and historically, the winner of this sectional and regional usually ends up going to state.
Gotcha.
O'Fallon did it in 2019. Obviously, Edwardsville has gone on the run that they've gone on in their path and whatnot. If we look at this bracket here, Edwardsville, they're going to head to Belleville West. The reason for that is that Belleville West has turf.
Now, let me ask you, though. It seems a little top-heavy.
It's
top-side bracket.
In my opinion, it's top-heavy in the sense that I believe Edwardsville is the best team.
Mm-hmm.
And then the rest of the Southwestern Conference teams they're just all in one circle. They're all in one hat. Close your eyes, pick a name out, and that team's coming out of it. I think Edwardsville will win their regional. Here's the thing, though. Belleville West did just beat them a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And so that will be tough, and it'll be at home for Belleville West. But I'm going to give it to Tim Funkhauser and the Tigers to kind of take that home. This one at O'Fallon, that's a gauntlet. Belleville East and Collinsville. Collinsville's got a good arm in Carter Harrington. They're not having a very good year, but he's a good arm that could beat anybody. Belleville East has 2 good arms in Logan Faust, Tommy Kramkowski, and they've got depth coming out of the bullpen. O'Fallon and Alton that's a regional championship game in the first round. O'Fallon's playing good ball as of late. They beat Edwardsville on Tuesday in extra innings on a walk-off. They've got some injuries that are kind of biting them right now, and that might end up hurting down the road.
Right.
But they've got Connor Blue, who's going to Cincinnati, who's one of the best arms in the area. And then you've got Alton, who, at one point was the 4th team in our rankings. They are struggling as of late. They're kind of losing their footing in terms of consistency. But they've got Reed Murray. They've got Logan Hickman. They've got Anderson Kaufman. They're well coached. Coach Harper does a good job over there. They're old. A lot of their lineup is seniors. They won a regional last year. So if you had to make me pick one, I would probably say Edwardsville wins their regional. I would say O'Fallon wins their regional. Those 2 teams match up on Wednesday in the sectional semifinal, Wednesday, June 4th. And I just can't pick against the Tigers. I can't do it.
It's hard to do it.
It's hard to do it. Now, if you scroll down the back half of this bracket.
This is what I was talking about. It seemed like top-heavy in the overall sectional.
Sure. There are some really good teams in this part of the bracket, though. So Minooka, they are always good. They had a kid get drafted last year in Nate George. They have a ton of really good players. Zane Caves, a left-handed pitcher for them, going to Michigan State, is a frontline arm. Normal Community, the 2 seed down there, they're one of the best teams in the state. To be honest with you, if you had to give me a pick, I would take them to come out of this bracket. But you know, historically, not to take anything away from anybody over the last couple of years, but historically, if you win the top half of this bracket, you go to state. I don't think that will be the case this year. I think if whoever comes out of it between Edwardsville and O'Fallon, I think Minooka or Normal Community, should they make it to the sectional championship game, that'll be tough. It'll be really tough. And honestly, to be honest with you, I would probably lean towards somebody from the bottom half of the bracket coming out this year. But I just...
You kind of flipping a coin at that point, right?
I'm not going to bet against the Edwardsville Tigers. History says you shouldn't do that. So. And it always repeats itself. So...
Never, ever, ever. And that's the thing.
Don't bet against Tim
until proven otherwise. Yeah. And it's not like they don't have the talent.
No, they have talent.
Right?
Now, this year, for me, just in my opinion, looking from afar.
Maybe not as deep.
The talent extends more on the mound. They are very deep on the mound. Okay. Like they've got Joe Chirotto, who is, give him the ball and go to work. They've got Hunter Ball, who's a junior that's kind of taken the step on the mound and has been very good for them this year. They've got Tony Eberlin coming out of the pen, going to TCU. I mean, listen, they play O'Fallon tonight in a conference game, in a rivalry game. And I would expect Hunter Ball is going to start that game. They play Triad on Friday, okay? So they played O'Fallon on Tuesday. They play O'Fallon today. 2 conference games, right? They play Triad on Friday in a non-conference game. And my guess is the kid starting for them, Tyler Powell. I don't know that. That's my guess. I think Tyler Powell will start for them on Friday. So he's a non-conference starter, is 87, 89 with a hammer breaking ball. He's going to SIUE. He's a Division I arm, and he's not a conference starter for them.
Yeah.
They've got Dax Dunnell going to Johnny A. Logan coming out of the bullpen. They've got Chase Milburn, who's one of the better junior arms in the state, coming out of the bullpen. They've got Eric Herman going to Lincoln Land. They've got Tristan Lance going to Lincoln Land. They've got college guys that have 12, 13 innings on the mound for them this year because they're so deep. And what wins when the playoff roll around? Well, you got on the mound. Yeah. That's what wins. You know what I mean?
And here's something, we talk about pitching and whatnot, and this just popped in my head. And because I've been an official. I've been on the backside of that. You come into these games, you got these big-time pitchers. As an umpire behind a plate, you can't be overwhelmed by that.
Nope.
And I think sometimes you can be if you allow it. You've got to really be prepared and focused to call a game at this level.
Let me ask you this as an umpire, right? Because I actually am very interested by this. If you're gonna, if you've got, let's just say Howell and Zumwalt West, right? And you're behind the plate, and 2 power arms are going, right?
Yeah.
Like, do you go into that game with a little bit of background information on what you have on the mound?
Absolutely.
You have to, right?
You got to. You got to know. And it's tough for me. I've been in situations where I've walked in and I'm talking early to the director, who do we have on the mound here? This kid's going here and this kid's going here. I'm like, oh, I get to the catcher as soon as possible. What's he throwing?
Yeah.
Tell me his pitch mix.
You've got to know.
And catchers will tell you.
I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you don't know that. And I think you're doing the game a disservice if you don't know that.
Because I had a kid, and this has been many years ago, and it was at Edwardsville. It was in the summertime. A kid that was going to Mizzou playing for the St. Louis Naturals, throwing low 90s with a nasty curveball. And I had never seen him before.
Sure.
And so I'm talking to the catcher, and I said, okay. First time I saw that curveball, man, it surprised me. I didn't ever get, it just surprised me because it's coming on the inside. I can see it. And I see the spin. I'm like, oh. And then it just disappeared.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's a strike.
Yeah.
Because it had to.
And I would hope that Misha and I would hope the IHSA kind of had some background level with umpires and stuff like that for those big games. I know.
That's what's sad.
I would hope one day we can get there, because I think the last thing you need is a game of a high level magnitude, and it speeds up on the umpires, on the guys that are officiating it.
Unfortunately, now I don't know as much. I know there's some really good dudes. I saw, oh gosh, and I'm blanking on Rick's last name. I know some umpires that have been out there to do a great job. They come prepared. There are guys I know that truly come prepared, and then there are other guys I know that they don't, and that's when you see. Yeah. And to all the umpires, we love you. Honestly, and I know it's tough because sometimes everybody gets all upset about that. But, be prepared. We have high-level baseball going on right now with high-level pitchers on both sides of the state. And there's some really good umpires out there and some guys that really care about what they're doing. And that's what we need.
Yeah, agree.
A little extra something there.
You have to. There's always something. There's always something.
I hope you enjoyed that, folks. This guy dropping the knowledge. I know I'm getting comments. Everybody's impressed because you're rattling off these things, and I'm telling you, folks, he doesn't have it hidden in his notes anywhere. It's coming out of his brain. So I don't know how you remember all those kids. So
try my best.
It's impressive.
Thank you.
So get out, support your team. There's some great baseball coming up. It's playoff time in Illinois. So support your guys, right? Get out there.
Get out to the game. I mean, I know there's a $7 admission fee. It's okay. Get out to the games. Get it there early. Get a good seat. Cheer your guys on, man. There's nothing like the vibe, the atmosphere. I remember I was at a game 3 years ago at SIUE, and Xander Muth, who's now with the Pittsburgh Pirates, he was a third-round pick out of high school, but he signed for like $2 million, so he got first-round money. They were facing off in the sectional semifinal, I believe, against Edwardsville at SIUE, and the vibe was immaculate. Like it was, and Edwardsville jumped on him early. They scored, like Spencer Stearns hit a backside double, I think, to clear the bases, and everyone was going crazy. And Grant Hubner hit a bomb, like something like that, and it was unbelievable. There's no vibe. There's nothing that's better than that. Edwardsville, I mean, I guess a lot of my high-level baseball memories have to do with the Edwardsville Tigers. But they played when they won the state title in 23. Yeah, 23.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Brother Rice in the state championship game in one of the best baseball games I've ever. Like, I remember sitting there like I was nervous, and I had nothing to do. I have nothing on the line, but like you could feel the atmosphere and the vibe, like kind of radiating. It was such a good baseball game. It was unbelievable. Like those kind of things, it's an SEC vibe at a high school game. You can't match it.
Absolutely, bud. Absolutely. Last night I got a chance. It was a district championship game.
Yeah, Duchesne and
St. Charles West. I've watched a lot of those kids at St. Charles West since they were freshmen.
Sure.
And so it was really, honestly, I work very hard, just not to root, but these kids,
Yeah, it's tough.
But I know some of the kids on Duchesne. I like Coach Hollander. That Duchesne team is really good.
Sure.
My goodness. And hats off to a team that wins it Class 3 state championship.
Bumps up to Class 4. They win their district. They're probably one of the better Class 4 teams in the area, yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
And Brennan Gehring hit a...
I'm trying to figure out why he's still uncommitted.
Rocket.
I'm trying to figure that out.
I don't know.
I haven't figured it out yet. I see like on his Twitter, the Twitter bio says the kid's really good. I haven't figured it out.
He is phenomenal.
I haven't figured it out.
And he hit a rocket. I asked Jackson Nicodime, I said, was that just self-preservation? He says, I stuck my glove out. And he said, I looked in my glove, the ball was there, and I threw it to first base and doubled the guy up. That's what he said. That's in the interview after the game.
That's awesome. That's hilarious.
That's baseball, man.
Yeah.
That's baseball. State championships. Thanks for tuning in, folks. We appreciate you being here. We're enjoying this. Hope you enjoy. Comment below. Tell us what you think. We share it out with your friends. Please do. Hit the dinger. It's not a home run, but it is notifications for upcoming episodes with this guy talking Illinois baseball. We're looking forward to the future. Have a great day in the Lord, all you pitchers.
Throw strikes.
And
Fill it up. Fill it up.
Hitters, try and hit it. And hit them where they ain't. We'll see y'all next time.